Zoom is pretty easy. Awesome.
Yeah, it's so nice.
I think we're good.
It's been good for using it.
Well, thanks so much for chatting with me. Where should we begin? So, I mean, how's life? You're down in Orange County or
Yep.
Orange, California, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Which is that close to Disneyland? And that it's in Orange County.
Yeah, like 4 miles south-ish. South?
Okay, so super close.
Yeah. Yeah.
Super close.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was down there with my wife and our 2-year-old daughter, like right before this thing started like spreading. And it was like early April, I think, like right, like when
Oh,
it,
really?
yeah, which has made me a little nervous
Oh,
because Disneyland, it's like you're like super close to people,
oh
lines,
yeah. Oh yeah.
everything. But I think she was a little too young, my daughter, who's two, to remember it, but she's a huge Elsa fan with Frozen. So it's like anything to do with that, she loves. So,
Oh wow, that's awesome. Yeah,
yeah.
it's a good place for that.
Did you grow up down in that area or did you move there?
No, I'm from Snohomish.
Snohomish,
Mhm.
up
So,
here. That's where
yeah.
my uncle lived there for a lot of years.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
I don't. I remember. He doesn't live there anymore. He lives. Well, yeah. Like he's up in more Stanwood
Okay,
area,
yeah.
which is
Yeah.
a little bit more north. But yeah. You know Washington. Then you've probably been to
Oh, yeah.
Seattle.
Yep. Yeah, I love it. I miss it. I'm excited. I'm coming back next month. So,
Nice. Is your family still up here?
yeah, in
Okay.
Snohomish. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I so I reached out to you on message because I've seen some of the posts that you've made, and I'm like, I have to reach out to you. Like, this is like it's so fascinating. It was fun chatting with you a little bit the other day. Um, Tell me a little bit, like, how did this first come about? Like, was this something that, like, your family, like, was this something you did growing up, or like, tell me a little bit about like how you
Yeah.
discovered this. And you mentioned that blog. Like, I don't know if that played a role, but
Yeah, so my dad's run he's the director of the Marysville Community Food Bank, and has been for the past decade. And so he was the one who I think like growing up we were very like conscious about like most people in Washington or Western
yeah.
Washington, like conscious about recycling and food waste and where it comes from and all of that. And then once he took the job, he saw all of the food waste that would come from grocery stores, like just tons and tons of it every single week.
Hmm.
Um, and then he just like started showing me statistics like 40% of food is wasted and like all these crazy numbers that I just had no idea about. And then I came to Chapman, and my sophomore year I went to an event, and afterwards there were like just tables filled with charcuterie boards, like cheeses and crackers and all these good fruits. And I was super excited. And then um, after everyone left, they started throwing them in the trash. And I was like, wait, what? What are you guys doing? And they're like, yeah, we can't give it away because it's already been put out. And
Yeah.
so I was like, well, can I take it? And they're like, yeah. And so I just like ended up carrying, I don't know, like buckets
Tons
like
of food.
this big of cheese and like fruit and stuff home, and it just like filled my entire fridge, and that's all I ate for the next week. And I was like, this is absurd. And I remember I called my dad on the way home and I was like, how is this legal? And then I just like started crying, like holding these buckets of food, because I was like, this is such a big problem and there's people within a mile who are hungry.
Yeah.
um,
How
and
long
I
ago was that?
what was that?
How long ago was that?
That was 2 or 3 years ago, my sophomore
Okay.
year.
Are you
Yeah.
are you still at Chapman or are you done?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm completing my master's in leadership development right now.
Okay.
So that's what my
Nice.
thesis is on. Yeah.
Nice.
So
Uh,
after that, I was just like kind of more interested in it. And then I would just go to events with Tupperware and take the leftover food. And then I did a presentation on it in October in one of my classes. And my classmate was like, whoa, I didn't know any of that. Like, you should do your thesis on it. And a few days before, my other thesis, which was going to be on outdoor education, had just fallen through.
mhm.
So I was like, okay, perfect. So then that's when I started with this.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I don't think people realize like that this is even happening. There's like you said, there's so many people that go hungry
Yeah.
that like it just makes no sense. Like it's unfortunate that it can't. I think you mentioned in chat like you can't give it away because then there's some legal rules around like tax. What would talk about that again?
Yeah, there's so actually the Good Samaritan Act like covers donations. So if you're donating goods and it's like you keep them within a certain temperature, or if it's just like a non-perishable, like it's completely fine to donate it, and then you're covered if someone gets sick from a lawsuit. And
Hmm.
there's no public record of any lawsuit occurring because of damage from donated food ever in the
Hmm.
U.S. So it's mostly it's kind of like a cop out that people use to be like, oh, I can't do that. But it's also they can't donate it once it's already been put on the table.
Got it.
So there it's more of like a reduced situation. So like why don't we keep it in the back room and just restock the tables with food every time like the
Yeah.
event needs more food, and then you can
Yeah.
donate what hasn't been on the tables.
And what about grocery stores?
Grocery
Like,
stores can donate, yeah. They a lot of times they do. But even like Mothers in Southern California, they're I don't know, they probably have like 7 locations or something, but they donate through Waste Not OC, which is a program in Orange County.
mhm,
But they still like I'll go to their dumpsters and it will still be filled with fruit and stuff that just like wasn't good enough for donation,
I
or
see.
they just don't. Yeah. So there's still so much waste even if they donate.
And this is every grocery store. This isn't just Mothers. Like every grocery store is throwing out food all the time.
Yeah, so much, so much. And some of them don't even donate. But then there's a problem if you call it, or it's not like a problem, but if you call it donation, it's rewarding that behavior of
Mhm.
wasting with a tax incentive.
Mm.
So it's like not solving the problem of reducing food waste, because
Hmm.
then they're just like, oh, if we just over order food and we don't sell it all, we can donate it and get a tax write off.
Yeah.
And it's picked up for them. They don't have to drive it anywhere.
Yeah.
But it's also like if we don't do that, then the food banks won't have as much food. So
Yeah.
it's like a catch-22. It's kind of hard to
Mm.
work around.
So there's no easy answer. It sounds like this is the path that has to happen. Otherwise, there's other repercussions other than more people just doing what you're doing and finding wonderful food that has just like literally just been thrown out, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think just reducing it down, like reducing it at every source. So from like the farm to
Okay.
like, and then just from the suppliers to the grocery store, like not over ordering. And then also dating is a huge thing where grocery stores and consumers are throwing away so much food because they're improperly like determining what the date means. So expiration dates, I can send you a chart on Food Lifeline in Washington. They have this awesome chart that shows like, oh, canned goods are good indefinitely. Milk 14 days past, like things like
Mm.
that.
Oh, I'd love to see
And
that.
so if we followed like more of that or had actual federal regulations on dates, it can make it a
Yeah.
lot better. But dates aren't federally regulated at all.
So if I own a food company, I can put on any expiration date I want or best by date.
There's no regulations around it.
Okay.
There's some state regulations, but not like not. I think 9 states don't even have state regulations.
Mm.
Yeah.
So you probably know this. So if I am selling some type of food and I like canned beans or something, and I put an expiration date on of like 2 years out, when I sell it to the grocery store, is the grocery store paying me for that food that those cans, and then like they decide if they throw it out, that's a loss to the grocery store, or is it or are the grocery store going back to me and saying, hey, we had to throw out 100 cans, you need to reimburse us? Do you know?
So I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that most grocery stores purchase the food from you and then it's their loss.
Got it.
But what Walmart does is they put the loss on their suppliers. So
Okay.
in that case, you would be
Got
lost,
it.
like you would be feeling the repercussions of the loss if they didn't sell it.
Got it. Okay.
But that's why their products are so cheap and other grocery stores aren't, because they're the ones who take the loss, whereas Walmart doesn't.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I asked because I was wondering, like, if I was a food producer, if there's incentive for me to put a shorter expiration date because I can sell it, it will force the store to throw it out and then buy more from me. There's
Absolutely.
probably
Yeah.
some of that going on.
My dad always calls it like planned obsolescence of food. Like it's not planning to have your food like break down a year in, but it's
Yeah.
having you think that it is and then throwing it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So consumers prematurely, or 90% of consumers prematurely waste food because of not being able to read the dates.
So when I see milk on sale because it's like 1 or 2 days from the expiration date and it's like cut in half, that's perfectly fine.
Just
Like
buy it. Yeah.
just buy it
Yeah.
and
It's
save the
totally
money.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. It's so interesting. So you've done this at this chain in Mothers in Orange County. Have you tried other grocery stores? Do you see more success or better quality food with one or the other, or is it just because you like this grocery store and it's close to you?
Yeah. So that one, I've had success there every time I go. And also the employees, they'll see me doing it and they'll just walk by. They don't really care.
Okay.
But I've also gone to other grocery stores nearby, and I found lots of other good stuff too.
Okay.
I think a few nights ago I went to Rite Aid,
Yeah.
and behind Rite Aid there were a bunch of Lunchables, but they were
Packaged. Yeah.
packaged completely fine,
Yeah.
completely fine. And there were actually, I'll show you. There were
Yeah.
these like fig bar things. These.
I think those are usually pretty expensive for
Yeah.
what they are. They
Yeah.
look good, and they're just packaged, unopened, perfectly fine.
Unopened.
What's the
In the
expiration date?
best before April 24th.
Okay, so that's why they're
Yeah,
throwing it
so
out. Okay.
not even expired. So like there's no law saying that the grocery store can't sell it. Like they can still sell it. They don't.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how many people are actually looking at the expiration date, but yeah, like you said,
Yeah.
that probably would last well beyond
Oh
the
yeah.
best, long, 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 because it's
So
sealed,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, completely sealed, totally fine. Yeah. Crazy.
Oh, you must be like the best eating college student, like.
We have so much. I'll show you the
Yeah.
cans. This is just half of the cans we pulled out of a dumpster.
Okay.
By
Can you
Rite
grab
Aid.
one of them and just?
Huh?
Could you grab one and just show what it is?
Pineapple
Okay.
chunks. We
Perfect.
got popcorn, a whole tub.
Okay.
2 things of peanut butter.
Yeah.
We got beans, vegetarian beans.
Yeah.
These are the Lunchables. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So like just tons. And then there's a whole nother box that I put outside just for people to take.
Yeah. When was the last time you bought food?
From a grocery store?
Yeah.
I think the beginning of October.
October, November?
I was on a camping trip.
So we're talking several months.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Wow. And it seems like you're getting a lot of variety too. It's not like the same thing. It's like you're getting a variety of nutrition because it's vegetables and it's fruit and it's canned. Does it tend to be like, oh, well, we see way more cans than anything else, or way more fruits, or way more vegetables, or is it a blend?
It's produce mostly.
Mostly produce.
Yeah, this was like a rare find. I don't know why there were so many cans in the dumpster, but when I go to Mother's and when I go to other grocery stores, it's a lot of produce. Just like if it's bruised or there's like a little tiny like slice on the peel or something. Yeah. So we've had pears, apples, oranges, avocados, tomatoes, onions, jalapenos, just like we've made so many dinners just out of dumpster produce.
And are you referring to your roommates?
Yeah, my roommates and I.
Do they do this as well, or are you the main person bringing home all the bounty?
They will come with me. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think I had a number the other day, but I think I may have brought like 14 people with me just throughout this time, like to introduce to dumpster diving.
Is the general feeling like just discovering this and finding it super interesting, like, do you have any like feeling of like embarrassment? Because I feel like there may be some of your friends or yourself at a certain point, like previously when I did this daily hello experience, it was like when I was approaching people and saying hello, it was like when people walked away, it's like, oh, kind of you have that ego hit. But then after you do it for a while, it like doesn't even matter anymore. It doesn't even phase you.
Yeah.
So I wonder if you had a similar experience where like, was there any involved, like, did you ever feel like, oh, I hope no one sees me or anything like that? Or
Um, Not really. I think just because I'm like, when did dumpster diving become weirder than food waste? Like, I think it's much crazier that people are wasting this much food.
yeah.
Here, I'm gonna close this window.
Okay.
It's loud out there. Let's see, there's so many lawnmowers. But no, a lot of my friends have gotten into it. There's like been some comments when I found like some arugula once, like 4 boxes, like huge boxes. And so my friend had some at her house, and she offered it to her roommate, and her roommate was like, "I don't want your friend's garbage food." So like, you get comments like that, but it's like,
Who cares?
I don't know if I
Yeah.
really am best friends with the kinds of people that make those comments.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
fine. Yeah.
they probably, yeah, they probably filter out of your friend group pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're probably people you don't want to be friends with anyway, because it kind of
Yeah.
speaks about who they are.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun to have be friends with people that have like an open mind too.
Yes, for sure. Because it probably means they have open mind about other things as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nice. So I saw a post you made on Facebook about hygiene, and like you were going through them and like use or not use of soap, like washing your face
Yeah.
without soap. And one of the things that you mentioned was a friend that washed his clothes with vinegar and has had great experience. And you're like, this clothes smell great. So I told my mom about that, and she doesn't love a lot of scents with like
Yeah.
um, detergents. So she's tried it, and she's like, her clothes came out smelling amazing. So then she just bought a gallon of white distilled vinegar, and just pours a half a cup in, mixes it in, and does her laundry. And she's like, she texted me the other day, and she's like, "There's no going back." She's like, white distilled vinegar as her detergent moving forward, and it's a fraction of the cost. I think like a gallon was a few dollars versus like a box of Tide is like, I don't know, $25 or something like that. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
amazing. Like, what are some other things? Like maybe you could talk just through a little bit of the things that you had written about, like um, tips that you may share for anyone that may be watching this is like, I don't do this, or I just use this to like day-to-day things, and talk about whatever you want.
Yeah. So in terms of hygiene, I haven't I guess I haven't washed my hair in 2 years. That sounds
So,
funny. But I haven't used shampoo on it or
okay,
conditioner
okay,
in 2 years. Yeah. So you just do like raking. So you just like rake your fingers through your hair like that.
yeah,
And then you can also use apple cider vinegar in your hair as like
okay.
kind of a conditioner. It leaves it like really smooth. Um, so yeah, when I shower, I don't use any soap at all.
So
And then for
you just kind
brushing,
of rub all over just with the water to get
yeah,
it clean? Okay,
yeah, just water. For my face, I just use water.
yeah.
Um, it gets used to it because when you use soap, you're stripping the oils, so then they just produce more. So
Mm.
once you take it to neutral, they're just producing less, and it's the same, but you don't have to use any chemicals on your face. Well, I guess water's still a chemical, but
Barely.
harsh chemicals on your face.
Yeah.
Um, and then for brushing my teeth, I just use baking soda. Um, I've heard both arguments that you do need fluoride on your teeth, and I've
Mhm.
heard the argument that you don't, that there's enough in water. So I
Okay.
don't really know, but my dentist told me that it was like the best thing I could do for my teeth, and that she's seen some of her clients using it like for decades, and it's been totally fine. So
Okay.
I'm doing it for now, and then next time I check in with my dentist, I'll let you know what they say.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
that's a big
So
one.
with baking soda, you're putting some in water and stirring it up, and then like putting the toothbrush in there. Is that how would it work?
Yeah, I just put it in my palm, and then I add some water, and then dip my toothbrush into it.
Does it create like a paste then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but you can also make it with coconut oil and peppermint extract, I think, or peppermint essential oil, and then it doesn't taste as bad because
Hmm.
it takes a while to get used to, I think,
Okay.
for some people.
How would you describe the taste?
Hmm.
Is it like strong,
Salty, maybe.
salty?
It's
Okay.
sodium bicarbonate, a little salty. Yeah, just not pepperminty, and it doesn't foam. A lot of
Mm.
like shampoo and toothpaste are both formulated to foam, so you build a habit, like you want to use more and more,
Yeah.
so it gets to foam. Oh wait, do you mind grabbing the door? Can you grab the door? Um, Thanks. This one, pass here. Um, Then also I think just a lot of times, clothing is a huge thing that we can do to like reduce our environmental impact. Cotton takes just so much water to produce, and buying new clothes is like feeding into fast fashion. Zara has like 52 fashion seasons a year. They have one a week. So
Yeah.
that,
H&M probably as well. I mean,
yeah,
they're all
I
about
think,
cheap fashion, right?
yeah, and it's just like child slavery, like child, it's just not, yeah, it's not good. So I'd say what I do is I only buy 5 new things a year max, and I make sure they're from a sustainable company, so like Patagonia or something. Um, and then also there's just a lot of things that we label as sustainable, like Rob Greenfield, who's one of my biggest inspirations. He does like something very similar to what I do, but on a much more extreme level.
Hmm.
He was talking about like bamboo forks and bamboo spoons. Like we don't need to buy those. We can just use what we have, which are just forks and spoons. And like
Yeah.
certain t-shirts that are like, I'm sustainable. Like we can just use something from a thrift store if you need to. So
Yeah. So the 5 items, is that new from the store, or could you go to like a Goodwill and buy things and that doesn't count, or would it count?
yeah, so I'm just counting those as new items.
Okay, so brand new
But
item.
more recently, I'm also just trying to not buy used items at all, unless it's like something I need.
Got it.
Yeah.
Hmm. Um, you talked about, to go back to the brushing of the teeth. Like I literally like the suds feeling with the brand. I'm like, oh, it must be working. Like it feels good, which seems to be strategically done by the toothpaste companies to make, because people like that feeling, because it makes it feel like you're getting your teeth clean, when that's not
Hmm.
necessarily, it's more of a show than necessarily cleaning your
Yeah.
teeth.
Totally. Yeah. That's like something they used when they were making the formula a long time ago, to when no one was brushing their teeth, and they were having a lot of like people's teeth were just like falling out and
Yeah.
disintegrating. They made that like in part of the formula so that it builds a habit. If you read I think The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg, it talks about that, and shampoo, and like
Mm,
the habits that products use so that we keep using them.
yeah. So white distilled vinegar is all you need for washing your clothes. Baking soda is all you need to have healthy teeth. You don't need soap to clean yourself. Like, let's say you went out and you went on a run and it was wet and rainy and muddy and you got like really dirty. Um, if you needed to use soap, is there a particular soap where you're like, well, if I really needed, I would use this versus, I don't know, some bigger brands maybe?
Mm.
Like, is
Yeah,
there?
that's a good question. I would probably use like some sort of a bar soap. I feel like I just have a lot hanging around my house that people have like made for Christmas presents or
Okay.
something. So I would just use what I had.
Okay.
Um, and then if I had to buy one, I don't think I would buy one in plastic. I'd try to buy one like at a farmer's market, or
Yeah.
I know a lot of bulk stores will have them, and you can just bring your own like cloth or bag to put it into, which
Yeah,
is
I've
really,
seen that where it's like in like a case where you literally just grab the bar of soap.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, It's
exactly.
it's so interesting about your body, like it's stripping the oils and like your body producing enough oils. Um, there is a guy, I don't know if you're familiar with, I can't think of his name right now. He's called the Iceman. He basically like whim something or something. Does that sound familiar? Like he will literally go out and like he talks about
Oh,
people like dress too warmly and it makes your body weaker. and he will go out in like freezing conditions with like no shirt on and like shorts or something like that, and his body will keep a temperature because it's adjusted. And it's like cold showers, I've heard, and I try to do this occasionally, but it's hard, are really good for you because it like forces your cardiovascular system to like pump blood through veins in your whole system that it wouldn't otherwise do. Um,
Yeah.
so I'll have to send you something about that. But yeah, like it talks about like cold environments influencing and making your body stronger. When most people are like, oh, it's a little cold, like I want to get more comfortable, and then they like will put layers on or warmer. Not to say that that's bad, but like it's good to expose yourself to some stress. Just like if you're lifting weights, you have to kind of, you know,
Yeah.
stretch your muscles to then let them build back up. I think it's kind of a similar path to where like exposing yourself to like a cold shower is actually beneficial for you. And I've noticed if I take a cold shower at night, and I can't do completely cold because I start shivering, but it it helps you sleep very deeply because it like, well, when
Really?
you're doing it, it's not easy, and just do it for as much as you can. But when you get out, you almost feel like a glowing feeling along your skin, and I think it's from like your blood flowing. But like I've seen it, and I've read other people have like it helps you get into like a really deep sleep. So I don't know, something.
Whoa. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've heard of that. I've heard of that, man, but I haven't tried that yet. That's gotta
yeah,
be the new thing. I'll see if I'll
yeah. Like it's
try
tough.
that out.
Like it's like warm showers are comfortable and they feel good.
Mhm.
I try to
Yeah, and
end,
keeping warm.
not all the time, but sometimes like working my way towards the cold side to take it as far as I can.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah. Um, well, that's interesting. Was there any other thing where you're like day-to-day life, like brushing the teeth is huge, washing your clothes, um, frequency of washing clothes, is that like a thing where you're like, I don't bother washing my clothes, people overwash their clothes or something like that?
Yeah, I definitely think I rarely wash like jeans. Those I rarely wash. I feel like I barely wash my shirts either. Like I don't know. I don't think I'm a very sweaty person, and so I
Yeah,
just like I'm like whatever. And
yeah,
every time you wash your clothes, like little microfibers go into the
the water.
water, which goes into the ocean ultimately.
Yeah, and then goes
Um,
into the fish food supply and then comes back
that
to the
we,
people, right?
yeah, yeah,
Not good, but
exactly. I think we
um,
consume like a credit card's worth of plastic a week.
that is awful.
Yeah, it's
Um,
crazy.
well, are you? I'm guessing you don't see a lot of meat getting thrown at, or do you? Like, where's your stance on like, I eat meat, I eat fish, I don't eat meat, I just stick with fruits and vegetables? Are you a vegetarian, a pescatarian?
Yeah, so I don't eat meat. I'm vegetarian, and then my roommate who's taught me like so much about cooking here is vegan, and so I've been like probably 95% vegan this year. I'll eat cheese and stuff if it's in the dumpster, or if like obviously I'm not buying anything at all, so if it comes my way, I feel like it's already been wasted and it's going to get thrown out, so it's better that like I have the calories that I would like get from something else.
Yeah,
But then again, it's hard for me with meat sometimes because like I used to be able to do that. If it was getting thrown out, I could just eat it. But now it's like I've gone so long without eating it that now it feels strange
mm,
to eat flesh for me. But I think that at least if I ever like grow up and live on a farm and someone catch it, like someone goes hunting and like gets meat that way, that I might be able to. But then for me, it goes back to more of like the health aspect of
yeah,
being vegan and vegetarian. So
yeah. Have you seen a Netflix documentary called What the Health?
I haven't yet. We talked about it in class like last week though.
Okay.
I know. I think the main guy is Michael Clapper is in that. Have you seen it?
I've seen it. It's my wife. My wife is pescatarian,
Okay.
so like when we eat, like if she makes spaghetti, we'll use like meat substitutes or something. But I've probably eaten. We've been married for 8 years, and I've probably eaten less meat since we've been married than like so much. Like I used to eat meat with every meal and was like, I can't get full of not eating
Hmm.
meat. And like, I will eat it here and there, but so I'm not against it. I'll eat fish more regularly, some like red meat and pork occasionally, but not often. But um, we tend to stay more vegetarian. I think that movie, it's like it's a bit extreme, but it's I think
Yeah,
its point is so it can make a point. Um, it was interesting. It talks about like if you think of like gorillas or like I think people associate not the lack of strength with like eating non-meat, but like if you look at some of the strongest animals like a gorilla, like they don't eat meat.
yeah.
So
And Game Changers is a movie that talks about that too. I haven't seen it yet, but it talks about like plant-based athletes, so vegan athletes who are just like on top of their game, but they don't eat meat.
yeah, I saw an article not long ago about some NBA players that have focused more on a vegan diet and like they're lighter, they're quicker, like no like more energy, like they're seeing a lot of positive impacts from it. Um,
Totally. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's definitely like a thing that's so ingrained in us, especially with like the food pyramid from our government,
yeah,
like because who's paying them to put that in there? Like the meat
right,
industry. So obviously they're going to include that, but
right.
we don't need that part. And then I was reading an article yesterday because I was actually writing like a reflection for one of my classes on health and wellness. And it found the WHO found that meat was actually carcinogenous in comparison to cigarettes.
Mm,
And there was one other thing it compared it to. But yeah, I think in What the Health, they go a little extreme, and it can scare off some people too. And then a lot of vegans or plant-based people can be very black and white and very judgmental of other people, and so it's like you're not helping the situation really as
yeah,
much when we do that. So it's like nice to be cautious with how I talk about it too, which is
yeah,
hard
for
sometimes because I
sure.
feel strongly about it. But
Um, so you're almost done with school. Like what? Like this is obviously a passion for you, and like you're like living it day to day. Um, like is this an area like you want to work in as you get out of school and like a career path of like focused on sustainability or something like is it, like what's the ideal path for you?
yeah, that's a good question. I know I want to go like into the outdoor industry, like do guiding for a while. In the summers, I do like operations and kayak guiding on the San Juans.
Okay.
Um, and so I'm going back to that this summer. And then after that, I think it would be cool just to focus on looking at like outdoor companies, especially like guiding companies, and how like looking at their sustainability practices and how to make it more sustainable. So
Hmm.
like I don't know if that's an actual position somewhere, but that's like what I'm very interested in, because it's like you have to practice what you preach, and these companies are supposed to be showing people like the earth and how we can use it in a sustainable fashion. And if they're not fully sustainable, then their actions are showing the wrong
Yeah.
way of doing it. So something like that, but I'm not sure. Maybe like working at a food bank at some point too.
Are your parents like are they similar in habits? Like are they brushing with baking soda, etc.? Or like are you, doing those things and then maybe they're like, well, we just yeah, are they in the same?
Yeah. So I think they were the ones who got me like to look into this area, but then they still do like the very common practices. But I talked to my mom about like, hey, I haven't used shampoo in 2 years and it's awesome. So now she doesn't use it at all anymore. I don't know if my dad ever did. I don't
Mm.
know. He doesn't really have much hair anymore, so he
Makes
doesn't
it
have to
easier.
worry about that. But looking at that, and like he's never used deodorant, so he doesn't really have to like make as many changes, because I feel like he's been kind of like simple throughout his life. But definitely I'm trying to get them to reduce their meat consumption as well. So they sent me a picture on Monday, which was like a vegan meal that they made, so they were very excited to show me. But yeah, I think I'm definitely trying to steer them more in that direction.
But do you have brothers or sisters?
I don't know.
Okay. I'm an only
Yeah.
child as well, which seems
Really?
more rare. I
Right?
think,
I know. It's crazy. It's weird to find people who are only children.
yeah, it really is. That's why, like, when you were like
Yeah.
only child, I was like, Me too.
Here we
So
go. We're doing
got
it.
a bond over that because yeah, it's most of the people I know have brothers and sisters, so it's like
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
So um, we can relate on other things. um, one last question I had in mind. Like, do you notice yourself getting less sick? Like, people get colds all the
Mhm.
time, and I think it's like I am a huge believer in that your eating habits impact your health and impact
Mhm.
like people who eat. I think you think about like just normal colds. You talk about the strength of your immune system. You talk about people who like have like different type of like cardiovascular disease and like high blood pressure and all these other things. We can go down a list of like things that are impact diabetes. um, I feel like there's food plays a huge role with like fast food and people's consumption of like quick and easy and things that you can put in a microwave that have been made and with preservatives, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm curious, like since you live pretty like simply without a lot of processed things and are eating like whole foods that aren't like processed, do you notice yourself getting less sick?
Yeah, I definitely think um I'm trying to compare myself to like earlier in high school. I think I would get sick a lot more. I'm not sure if it was because I was eating me. I've never really eaten processed foods, but also just stress. Whereas like now I'm not as stressed. I can like balance that out more, but I definitely think that I'm definitely my immune system is way better. But
How do
it's
you,
also because I eat things. I don't know. I think I eat a lot of like weird foods or like foods with like a little bit of mold on it. So I feel like I've definitely had
mm,
a have a stomach of iron now. Like I can pretty much feel like I can eat anything and not get sick, which is awesome. But everything is in our health. Like chronic diseases, totally, they come from what we eat. There's actually a statistic. Let me find it. I was doing research the other day just on obviously like food waste, but I was reading about the hidden oppression of big food. So it talks about like racism, like social injustice, poverty, and racism, food advertising on Black targeted TV. So food advertising on Black targeted TV increased by 50% from 2013 to 2017. Black teens viewed 119% more junk food related ads, mostly for soda, than white teens. And over the last 2 decades, the risk of type 2 diabetes has doubled. If
mm,
you are African American, you are 80% more likely to be diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, over 4 times more likely to have kidney failure, and 3.5 times more likely to suffer amputations than whites.
mm.
Um, so that is just because of they're targeted for junk food ads and soda, and it's everything is in what you eat. Chronic diseases, I think it was like there was another number of how much we're going to be spending on chronic diseases. We're going to be spending $95 trillion on chronic disease over the next 35 years in the USA alone if we don't change our food
How
system.
much was that? 95 billion or trillion?
Trillion.
Okay. Over
Yeah.
what time?
Over the next 35 years,
Yeah.
just in the US on chronic diseases, just because of the food we eat is driving our immune systems, and we're getting insane chronic diseases and insane levels of diabetes because of what we eat.
Yeah. How do you change that? That is like, I completely agree that that is the case. I try to eat the most unprocessed foods possible. It's hard to do that
Yeah,
all the time.
totally.
But you have like fast food feels like it's culture. Like people go through McDonald's or whatever, like the Burger King, or like there's fast food places all over the place. And those companies are making lots of money because it's cheap, it's convenient. Um, like I don't even know, like it's a huge question, but like some people I think just don't care too. It's like
Yeah.
there has to be some motivation on the part of the person to like I want to eat healthier because it's going to impact me versus like I want instant gratification of the pleasure that I get from eating this cheeseburger or whatever it might be. Like, do you have any thoughts on how to nudge more people towards more natural foods and away from more processed foods?
Yeah, I think Oh man, I wish I had that answer. We were talking
I
about
know.
this. My friends and I, or my roommates and I, we went on a walk last night to the dumpsters, and on our way back, we were talking about that and why do people consume so much processed foods, even if they know that it's bad for them. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of them don't understand the severity of its impacts and like the chronic diseases that come from it. And they also, it's hard for them to see long run, like especially if you're homeless, you can't make your own meals. You don't have the tools to do so. And so like these processed foods are one of the only things you can eat. But then later down the line, if you suffer from chronic diseases and you have to get medical help, it's just like blowing you out of water with the bills.
Yeah.
So, but then again, they don't really have the choice. But when people do have the choice, I think that just education, because I think nutrition also, none of our doctors are required to have nutrition classes. Um, and so often we'll prescribe medications instead of simply changing your diet. Whereas if you just change, a lot of times it's like, oh, you're just eating too much junk food. If you were to change your diet, you're going to see so many better outcomes in your health. So definitely education for our like doctors and just for kids to implant at a young age that processed foods are not your go-to, that you
Yeah.
should eat whole foods.
I wonder if like I'm not the biggest like fan of the government giving out money, but like I wonder if like there's a way to be like everyone would get like a small amount of money and it could only be used on fruits and vegetables or something like versus like just using it at it's kind of like a food stamps type thing, but like I think that
Mm-hmm.
you could go buy Doritos for that. But like
Yeah.
I don't know if that would encourage more people or if they would just buy it and then I don't try to resell it or I don't know. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
yeah, I think your thoughts were good. I don't think there's a simple answer. Um, like when I think it has to be like deep in the person, and what I mean by that is like you hear people, and it's um, like a friend of mine's wife who will say like I'm going to lose 10 pounds before this wedding because I want to look good in a dress, and it's like basically the person will starve themselves or like to try to lose that weight because the goal is the wedding, and then after the wedding all bets are off and it's just back to normal habits versus like um, or let's say you don't like working out and you don't like running, you don't like lifting weights, whatever it might be, and but you're suffer through that to get to your goal. Like you have to enjoy the process, you have to
Yeah.
enjoy eating fresh vegetables because I get enjoyment out of that because it feels clean, it feels pure, like I know I'm putting good stuff in my body, like I enjoy working out because like I'm making myself better. Like I think I don't know how you get people to like enjoy the process because you have to enjoy the process
Yeah.
or else you're going to just hit a goal and quit and go back to other habits.
Yeah. That's why I'm not sure the percentage, but it's like such a high number of diets don't work,
Yeah.
because it's not satisfying, or you're cutting out something that is like you're so used to, and then if you just like do it cold turkey and you're not enjoying it, you're not going to stick with it. And so it's like you need to develop a system where something you can stick with that's just as healthy and beneficial, which I think
Exactly.
is really good with like, well, I guess you could still be vegan and eat Oreos, so it's not like that's really doing it. But the plant-based whole food diet, or even just like trying to eat more vegetables, is such a sustainable way to do that, because it, exactly like what you were saying, it feels good, so you
Yeah.
want to keep doing it.
Yeah.
um
And then like
but
sugar
yeah,
is another whole nother thing, like how sugar is infused in everything.
everything.
Like
Yeah.
there was another, I think it was on Netflix as well. I think it's called Sugar Inc. But
Hmm.
it's just like it is literally an addiction. You know, people crave it, and it's like your body has like a chemical impact of like craving of like satisfaction, and you need it. And I've noticed um, I don't like that. I don't like the dependencies. I don't like the need for something. And like I've noticed at times if like I was eating something that's sweet on a consistent basis, like maybe it was an afternoon that I had something sweet that was like a baked good or whatever it may be. Like every day around that time, it'd be like, oh, I need something, and then it would be satisfying after I did it. Um, but if you can break that, like I mean, it's not a huge example, but like I will try to divert that craving. So if like I was craving something like I don't know, like a donut, like I would go and eat an orange because an orange is sweet
Yeah.
and it would give me the satisfaction. And then you do that for like not even that long of a period. It could be days. And then all of a sudden, like the desire leaves, like the donut, like you don't want the donut anymore. You don't care about the donut anymore. But you, like, I think you need to direct it somewhere where you have an outlet versus just saying, like, have it saying like the will of like, no, I'm not going to eat the donut. No, I'm not going to eat the donut. Like you need something. And I think you just need
Mhm.
to direct that craving to something that is more natural, like fruit or dried fruit, which is super sweet, but a natural.
Yeah. Totally. That literally just happened to us last night. We were like, oh man, because every night we'll want to like make cookies or something after dinner, and
Yeah,
we were like, okay, like tonight I really want a cookie, and then I was like, no, like we could just eat oranges because we have like crates and crates of oranges here.
yeah,
So we just had oranges instead, and then I was like, it's like if you take that cue, like
yeah,
whatever your habit, like the cue is, and then you change the reward or like pair
yeah,
it to something different, then you can just like change what you're like what you want, what you crave.
absolutely,
Um,
absolutely. Well,
but it
awesome.
does
Well,
take work. Yeah.
for sure. Well, thank you so much for chatting. This was super fun. You're an inspiration.
Thanks.
So much wonderful information. And yeah, thanks again for chatting. And we'll have to
Yeah.
stay in touch, at least on Facebook.
Absolutely. I want to know how your mom's vinegar washing thing goes.
I
She's
will. I need
excited.
to try it now. I wanted her to try it to like test things
Yeah,
out, but like I think I need to give it a shot now.
totally. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. All
That's
right.
awesome. Well,
I'll
thanks
talk
for
to you later.
calling. That was
Yeah.
great.
I'll talk to you later.
Perfect.
Bye bye.
Bye.